Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Yes, it's Chicago Junction, being the railroad program that is all about everything that is railroading, both real and model. I am Brian Valou, your host. Now here's our boss, the head of the Windy City Hometown Radio Network, as well as being the chief electrical engineer, Mr. John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Monday, August the 22nd, the year 2016. The panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads and, of course, much more. And now to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Brian. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, John. And now here's our host, our head train master, Mr. Jack Red Ryan.
Train master. I like it. Is it like a ringmaster? No? Mastermind, maybe? Well, good evening, everybody. Hello, and thanks for listening on this great midsummer edition. And it really is midsummer today. On the we're past the Ides of August, so we're getting there. Labor Day around the corner. God, those years sure to roll around. You don't slow down, and I'll tell you that. Welcome once again. We're going to have a little roll call here. And what should we? Is it turn to start left or right? Do you know, Brian, Mr. Brian? That way? Right?
Starboard.
Start there? You?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see who you are.
Hi, I'm Doug Kenyuk. I rail fan, officer in the Railroad and Short Lines Club of Chicago. That's rscc.dhke.com. Longtime rail fan, and I teach computers at the local college.
You teach computers? You do?
Better than teaching humans.
I was just going to say.
Easier, too.
There you go.
Again, I'm your announcer, Brian Valou. I am retired U.S. Navy. After 15 years with the railroad, trying the retired life. And model railroader, rail fan, volunteer for Operation Lifesaver. And have been a couple of good functions this weekend.
Function at the Junction?
Oh, yes, function at the Junction. My gumption.
Dave DeRuska, retired locomotive engineer. The last railroad I worked with was Metra, previously from the Illinois Central, the Wisconsin Central, the Chicago and Northwestern. I'm in charge of our Facebook page. I also do a blog called now my
Player with trains?
Yeah, no, Player with Railroads. Thank you. That's you. You're Player with Trains.
That's true.
Player with Railroads, which is a blog about Chicago Railroad history. I'm also a board member of the Blackhawk chapter of the National Railway Historical Society.
I'm Jerry Conlon. I had 30 years with the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. I had a lot of jobs there. After I left the Chicago Northwestern Railroad, I started a firm in Washington, D.C. that represented the Union Pacific, the Norfolk Southern, the Illinois Central, the short line railroads, and many others. And one of the proudest things in my life is being a railroad guy and being part of railroad history.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Berry. I'm a retired Chicago police sergeant, lifelong Lionel Railroad owner and operator. I'm a member of the board of directors of the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club.
Hi, I'm Jack Ryan, and I'm the MC here, and I'm a retired buck private from the police department. Used to work for guys like this, and I once hopped a freight.
Why are you still here?
No, that's not true. My family are all railroaders. My grandfather and uncle and cousin all worked for the Chicago Junction Railroad, ergo the title. And we used to look forward to their picnics every summer. And My dad was quite a railroad buff, and people wonder why he never worked for the railroads. But it's funny, it seems like the buffs usually don't. Although in our case, we've got a couple of people in the exception. So I suppose that's the best thing you can do. As Paul Harvey once said, it was he's the luckiest man in the world because he had his vocation and avocation were one and the same. So how do we get to Paul Harvey from there? Okay, let's go. What we got? Any news here? And of course, Jerry, you're our guest today,
Thank you.
and we're so happy to have you. And I see we have an audience too. We have a peanut gallery today, an audience, in studio audience.
There is a very nice lady observing. She happens to be Jerry's title holder. And please don't refer to her as a member of the peanut gallery.
Well, I mean, okay, the audience.
Most of our listeners aren't old enough to know that reference.
That's why we're here to educate.
That's right. Okay, where are we going to start? We had a lot of any items that are belong on the front page of our little report today, or
I don't know about front page, but I got an email earlier today from the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railway. This weekend, which would be August 20th, the 765, which is a former nickel plate Mikado, if I remember correctly, or is it the Berkshire?
Berkshire.
It's the Berkshire. I'm sorry, I had the opportunity once to actually ride behind the nickel plate Mikado and the nickel plate Berkshire as a lash up out to Argus, Indiana, and they turned around on the Y out there. So it's a beautiful old steam engine. It's at the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railway. If you're in, it will be there this weekend. Anyhow, if you Google Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railway, you'll go to their website and you can read what they're going to do this weekend and the weekends for the remainder of summer.
how do you spell Cuyahoga?
Cuyahoga. It runs right through the Cuyahoga National Forest. It's beautiful. If you take 80 2 weeks from now? Okay, 2 weeks from now. Then anyhow, go to the site, because usually I get some of the stuff right and some of the stuff wrong. But it runs through the Cuyahoga Valley National Forest. It's beautiful. You can ride from one end to the other. You can get off, and they have a farm as it would be during the War of 1812. You can see how everything was done. And they let you know what time the train is coming back, so you don't have to walk all the way back. And there is an eagle nest about 150 feet west of the track, and if you're lucky, you'll see an eagle up in the nest.
Okay.
All right, well, I got some short line news,
Doug?
local area news. First of all, I'll start with Manufacturers Junction. Apparently their engine house has been torn down. Their turntable's gone. The locomotives are gone. It's questionable how long the Manufacturers Junction will still be an active railroad. They still have one customer. That's Charter Steel. But other than that, most of the other customers are gone. So it's just a matter of time now. Manufacturers Junction is owned by Omnitrax Rail Services. Chicago Terminal, Goose Island operation is probably dead. A lot of things went wrong there in the last couple of years, from City of Chicago evicting them off of Kingsbury to somebody stealing all the wires off the bridge. The bridge across the river no longer operates. The customer on the east side of the river suddenly wanted rail service, and they said no, bridge broken. So that whole area is up for redevelopment. The NIMBYs and the gentrification people got their way. Finkel Steel's been kicked out. They're down now at 93rd Street, the old Verzen
Steel
property.
Steel?
Finkel Steel. General
the one
Iron is the other customer there.
Was that the one that Blagojevich's father worked for or something?
Yeah, probably. General Iron is the big scrapper there. They had a number of fires in their yard, so they're under pressure to be kicked out of there. The problem with that area, it's a PMD, Protected Manufacturing District, that was set up back in the 80s by one of the dailies. They're now dissolving it so that they can finish the gentrification of everything along the east side of the Chicago River. So all the industry will now be gone from that area. Side note, I don't know if you guys saw this news, but last week they got a court ruling. They could raid the TIF funds now and use it for mass transit projects. Specifically, the one they want to do is that flyover at Belmont Avenue. So they're raiding the TIF funds from the
What's
local TIF districts.
What does that mean, TIF?
Tax incentive financing.
Oh, okay, TIF.
Are they going to replace the bridge that used to be at Belmont and Western?
No,
It's a different flyover.
right.
Okay.
This is for the Ravenswood L to go over the tracks instead of going through the switching maze.
Oh,
Okay.
the Clark Street,
Right.
the Clark Street
Yeah, yeah.
interchange with the Ravenswood line.
Yeah, they're going to spend like 48 mil to save about 7 seconds of transit time.
There's a big controversy about that too. A lot of the people in the neighborhood are against it. There are going to be a lot of businesses torn down on Clark Street to accommodate the new trackage and structure.
Right, they're going to tear down 38 properties. They got to acquire for this. Anyway, back to Chicago Terminal, their locomotive from North Avenue Yards is gone. They got no customers on that line, so it's just a matter of time before they file the papers to get rid of it. It's been slowly cut back over the years. Kingsbury from North, the division was adverse abandonment filed by City of Chicago. Chicago Terminal just said, no, it's an active rail line. There's been no service on that line for years, and all of a sudden a gondola showed up at the end of the line at Division Street, right by Division. There happens to be a guy who sells firewood there. The guy loaded the gondola. They took the gondola someplace, brought it back 2 weeks later, and Chicago Terminal said, oh, look, active rail line, you can't abandon this. So then they went and fought over it, and finally they sold the whole line to the City of Chicago. 30 days later, they tore the whole thing out once they got it abandoned.
Now, all that trackage is former Milwaukee Road, Chicago, and Evanston
Right.
line. It was a competing line with the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad, ran up to, I don't know, Winnetka, as far as Winnetka?
Wilmette. Ran to Wilmette, past Wrigley Field.
Right.
Brought coal up to that area. Over the years, it's been cut back.
Right, yeah, there's no more track, nothing going on north of there.
Right. Yeah, north of Elston was gone when Peerless Candy closed,
Right.
because they used to call that the sugar train.
And there was also interchange at Wilson Avenue with the Elevated,
Right.
and the Chicago Elevated provided service to the few industries that were left along the L tracks on the north side. And the CTA line actually follows the old right-of-way.
Right. And 52, the right-of-way, the Milwaukee Road right-of-way from Wilson to Wilmette was sold to the CTA. Up to that point, it was leased to them. And so that's the story on that one. Finkel Steel, real quick, I mentioned that. Again, they moved down. They were bought by a European company, and then the company said the site's too small. Right now, they're looking at redeveloping that site. It's all been torn down, by the way. It's all gone. I mean, there's nothing there. And so that's the story of that whole area. That's some site issues, the PMDs being dissolved, the TIF being raided for money, and so on. All right, now, down in Indiana, good old town of North Judson. Back when the CSX abandoned some line, they bought the track to keep service. They went out and they found a freight company. Indiana Boxcar came in, created a company called Chesapeake in Indiana to run the freight service. The Hoosier Valley Museum is located on that line, and they run passenger trains north from North Judson. Suddenly, last year, the Chesapeake in Indiana suddenly put derails in and said you can't operate on these freight lines any longer, even though the town of North Judson owns the track and it's in the lease. So now the town of North Judson put out an RFP, request for proposals. One company answered, Lake State Railway up in Michigan. They're coming in, they're going to form a new railroad called Chicago and North Judson to run freight service. Now nothing's final yet. Has not been any STB filings, and no lease has been signed yet, but it looks like they're probably going to get the freight rights too, as soon as the town of North Judson kicks out Indiana Boxcar. Side note, if you go up to Malden, Indiana, you can see there's a Santa Fe switcher that sits there, GP30, to use to switch the grain cars in and out of the grain elevator there. Let's see what else I got. Now, Lake State is a Michigan railroad company. Operates a lot of the old Ann Arbor and Pierre Marquette lines up in Michigan. Not to be confused with Lake State's transportation division of the old Sioux Line, which was formed after the Sioux Line bought the Milwaukee Road when it was in bankruptcy, and they wanted to get rid of their original line. That got sold to Wisconsin Central, ended up in the CN camp up the road. It used to be CP, then they got switched to the CN. So gotta be careful when you watch these names. Let's see what else. And the last one I got is the CP and the Illinois Tollway are going at it.
The CP is the
Canadian Pacific.
Okay. I don't know these abbreviations, so I'm ignorant.
Back about in 2004 and 5, the Illinois Tollway was going to build a western bypass on the west side of O'Hare. Now, the side history on that was, it wasn't the Tollway's idea, it was the suburbanites' ideas. Led by Oak Grove Village, they wanted to stop O'Hare expansion, so they said, hey, if we build a tollway on the west side of York Road and wrap it around the airport, Daly can't expand the airport any further west. So they got the tollway to agree to this. So the tollway's been quietly acquiring property. Came to Bensonville, they want to acquire part of the Bensonville yards to finish the bypass so it connects back to 294. Well, since the intervening time, they've been going back and forth. The deal's worth $14 million to acquire the land from the railroad. So meantime, they've been going back and forth. In about 5 years, CP just changed their management. The new guys came in and said to Illinois, no, you can't, because Illinois controls the Illinois Tollway Authority. So the Tollway Authority said, well, we use eminent domain to get the land. The railroad says, well, we have the power too. By the way, you can't grab land unless the STB says you can.
What's the STB?
Surface Transportation Board.
Okay.
They regulate the railroads. So now they're in court fighting over it. And that's where it stands. Meanwhile, state of Illinois, the Tollway Authority already has spent a lot of money on this. They got partially built piers all over the place and stuff.
Well, that's funny you mentioned tollways, because it seems to me when they originally, I mean, I was very young then, but they brought the tollways in. The toll was supposed to be there until the highway was paid for. Remember that? Now, my wife is from Western Kentucky, and we would always go down and visit the family. Kids were small, whatever. But beyond the parkway there was which is the expressway system. Parts of the parkway were tolled, parts were not. Well, we had to be on the tollway. I think it was the Penny Rail, and there's the Western Kentucky Parkway. On the Penny Rail, we get off for her hometown in Central City. Well, one time we got down there, and somebody double-crossed us. They removed the toll booth. And we asked what happened, and they said, oh, they said the road was paid for. So that's kind of a dangerous thing to happen, and anybody in Illinois think about that, right?
Well, that's okay. The toll booths are popping up all over the place on roads that have been free for a long time.
Right. Seems a little bit bass-backwards there, doesn't it?
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go right ahead. I'm done. That was the...
I happened to
Hi,
be
Doug. Hi, Doug.
happened to be up on the north side Friday, and the Chicago terminal switcher is gone. There's a UP yard engine sitting up there now.
That's North Avenue. That one still used the Switch to Tribune Company.
But, as far as that bridge goes, that bridge is just immediately south of a scrapyard,
Yep.
and the scrapyard's been closed for about a year.
Well,
And
General
I-
Einer is still in business.
There was a scrapyard immediately north of that pivot bridge, and I will give you odds
That one's
that's
gone.
where the wire went.
Yeah, that one is gone. Oh, I'm sure.
Because they
Yeah.
only swung that bridge once or twice a day.
Actually, it was on demand because the only customers they had across the river was General Iron. Big Bay Lumber closed 2 years ago. Republic Windows on and off again. That company went through 3 ownerships, and the current people are about ready to give up. And the only other customer on that side was Waste Management, which never received a car in the first place. So they didn't have much traffic there. It was on demand. I talked to the switching crews because they normally work Oak Grove Village, and then they would get called up and say, oh, take a car over to there, and they would be cabbed over, take the car, come back, and then go back to Oak Grove Village.
The switch engine was just neat, for want of a bit more descriptive word. It was painted iron oxide, or Tuscan, I guess you might say. But it had a really neat logo
Yes.
that incorporated the Chicago flag.
Yep, and a little fire symbol on it for the buildings. It was an 800 horsepower locomotive. It was a tiny SW1.
It caught your eye because you just don't see them that often. And about a month or so ago, we had gone up there and I tried to grab a photo, and a big old semi pulled up next to me, and I couldn't get the photo. And this time the engine was gone. So my granddaughter doesn't get a picture.
Yes.
All right.
We're so genteel.
An article went out today from the Midwest High-Speed Rail, and it was about the new Siemens Charger locomotives. They're currently at the Transportation Technology Center in Pueblo, Colorado, being run through their tests. They are going to ultimately wind up in Florida, Maryland, California, Washington State, Michigan, Missouri, and Illinois, and they are expected to see service in the Midwest in 2017. And Brian is much more versed on the computer than I am, and he got a much better technical printout on them.
No, you did fine. You said the basic story. That's it.
And they're supposed to be able to hit 125 miles an hour.
Yeah, they're bringing them to Illinois for Amtrak to use for their high-speed service, which
to St.
is
Louis?
yeah,
Yeah.
which is what speed was before 1960.
Absolutely.
Forward into the past.
That is correct.
Back to the future.
Well, continuing with steam news that you started,
Thank you.
this weekend is what I was trying to tell you. In New Haven, Indiana, which is home of the Fort Wayne Historical Society, they are having an open house tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. With the 765 being lit off and going down on their lead track, they'll be going back and forth, and you can buy tickets for a cab ride. And you actually get throttle time. You know, try your hand on the throttle for a half hour.
For real?
Yes,
Little Walter Mitty stuff there, huh?
that's right. You can sit there and actually pull the throttle. They'll teach you how to do it properly. Or you can spend $4 and get a caboose ride. But there'll be food. There's you can buy dinners there, and actually tomorrow they're having a big press conference, so the local press will be there at 10:30, and they'll be talking and announcing the plans for the Cuyahoga Valley, of how long they're going to be there and how long they're going to run.
Thank you for that. The Cuyahoga Valley wasn't worded real clearly.
No, I saw it, and it looks like the same picture and statement underneath from the Fort Wayne Historical Society.
How you spell that, Cuyahoga?
I spelled it once. Get your crayons out and copy.
There you go.
Phonetically.
Yeah. And in the other world of steam, the city of Amarillo in Texas are looking to sell a 210-4. They're big steamers, Texas types. The city has voted to sell. They're looking at proposals for it. They've got 3 people that are interested. And the local historians are going, what are you doing? You know? It doesn't look good where it is.
So move it.
Yeah, well, that's it. They want to move it out of town. They want to get rid of it. If not, they'll scrap it.
Yeah.
That seems to be the big thing.
They can get
Look-
the guys that took the wire off the bridge to scrap it for them.
Yeah.
Or the guys that butchered the mic over on Vincennes Avenue.
What, Mike?
The one that was in the Rock Island
10
area.
years ago, there was a Mike parked at about 123rd, 124th, and Vincennes.
The old Dave Jensen engine.
Yeah.
The Dave Junction was a Pacific. And it was 1986. Pagano got it cut just the way he wanted it.
I was told it was a Mike. If you're telling me it was a Pacific, I won't argue with you.
No, it was a USRA Pacific, and it had a different tender to it for longer distance. But he used it for the longest time. It hasn't been moved because them and Rock Island at the time, they got into a little disagreement with one another. So one of the things that kept it from being moved was he took all the bearings out of it. But anyway, this is what they want to do. But the nice thing is, finally, number 4014, the Union Pacific big boy that was removed from Pomona, California, is finally being stripped completely, getting ready for the ultrasound test on its boiler. This is the locomotive that was pulled out to get it ready for the 2019, for the anniversary of the Golden Spike. Bringing together the Transcon.
Yeah. The Intercontinental.
Actually, if they do it right, it'll be ready, should be by the end of it could actually be ready at the end of 2017. But in the middle of, and it's supposed to go to all cities that are on the Union Pacific track. And since they haven't bought a steam locomotive since 2002, it'll be quite interesting.
So this is the 150th or anniversary of that?
Yeah, it'll be the 150th.
Is that sesquicentennial? I think they.
How do you spell that?
C-A-Y.
Yeah, sesquicentennial. You got it.
SES.
Huh?
Q-U.
Yeah. The B&O had it in 1977.
They had the big boy?
They didn't have the big boy, no. They had their
Because the big-
sesquicentennial.
Yeah, the
Tongue
big boy
twister.
used to be there in Omaha as you went over the bridge past the Union Pacific locomotive shops. It was one hell of a locomotive. It was great.
Oh, it is. It's big.
There was a photo in Classic Toy Trains this last issue. Lionel is coming out with a set of Union Pacific heritage cars in the armor yellow with the red stripe, the heritage fleet cars. Beautiful cars. If you get the cars and the diner with the diner sounds in it, it's only $1,000 just for the cars.
Yeah, I saw that when I looked at the Freedom Train set. But yeah, the nice thing is, though, they got 844 running. It's been running for the last 2 months, but they had it all set up for the Cavalry Days out of Denver.
Is there any chance that we'll see the big boy here in Chicago?
We had a saying. You can wish in one hand and
Have reality in the other.
then see which will come first.
I think the answer is yes, because that will be a great event for them. This is obviously a public relations move. The big boy is automatic public relations. It's a wonderful thing. And the Union Pacific is a lot of things, but stupid they're not. And they're going to bring it here because it'll be a great attraction.
They'll bring it here, but it won't operate on any of the C&W lines. Bridge problems.
I remember when they brought
Probably right.
I remember when they brought the Challenger in about 20 years ago.
2002 was the last time it was here.
Okay.
I know because I worked the train.
I was
Yeah, I
luck-
had to go to West Chicago Yard and pick it up. Oh darn!
I was just happy to get within 10 feet of it. I tried to get tickets, but by the time I found out about it, all the people in the know already had their tickets and there wasn't anything available.
Well, just keep tuned because at least you'll be able to run 765 again. They're coming to town next year.
Gentlemen, time for a break.
And you are listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Monday, August the 22nd, year 2016. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich. And now, friends, back to our panel and Chicago Junction.
Yes, and we're back in. I just want to let everyone know that Jack FM is not named after me. So.
All right.
The Red FM.
I was named after John Wayne a long time after him, but okay, let's go. Where were we?
Well, one thing, we're going to have to get a hold of our friend Shannon.
Okay.
Because it is in the news, and Dave sent it out over to the Chicago Junction Radio website there.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook.
Facebook. Okay. Anyway, I also got it from the horse's mouth.
You mean Jack?
Yeah, if you had $1.5 million, you can help put this on the
Right.
pedestal.
Yeah, right.
No, the Lincoln Funeral Car is looking for a permanent home for it.
For what now?
Pullman.
They're looking for a permanent home for the Lincoln Funeral Car. As such, so Shannon would probably have more information on it. But the basic thing is they want it to go to a place more than likely where the car has been and will be taken care of. And he's hoping, he was actually hoping that maybe you'd hear from the Baltimore and Ohio Museum. B&O Museum would be a perfect place for it. Excellent museum.
Yeah, that roundhouse is just lovely.
Which was actually a car shop. But, so we got to see if we can find Shannon's number again.
I haven't got it here.
Okay. But that's something we could set up for next time.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant to ask you, how did the photography day went?
Was lightly attended, unfortunately. But went to Riley's Rail House. We had them on as a guest for the last show. And the Blackhawk chapter had a rail fan day there last Sunday. And
Did you get to meet Mr. Riley?
yeah, I got them a great place. They have a wonderful facility there. It's a nice little town, Chesterton, Indiana, right on the NS main line, and had a lot of train action there that day. And he's done a fabulous job with that freight house. It is just absolutely marvelous, and I highly recommend it to anyone. If you just want to go down there and hang out, or if you want to spend the night at their B&B, they have rooms in the freight house itself. They have a box car and a caboose that are all set up as B&B rooms as well. And they've got a third caboose that they're working on, that they're going to be working on it for a long time. It's in pretty rough shape.
Why don't you dial it up?
Go ahead, she's on the air.
Hello? Hello? Yes, are you there?
Yes.
Come in, Mr. Challenger, and sign in, please. Hi, this is Jack Ryan, and your name was just mentioned here. Was your ear ringing?
Hello, Shannon.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We want to talk to you about the little notice that we saw.
Yeah, the funeral car.
Yeah, about looking for proposals, huh?
That's correct. Starting August 29th, we'll open the RFP process and leave that open for a little while and see what communities might be interested in hosting the car permanently.
Well, it sounds like a good endeavor. How much longer will it be up in Minnesota?
We'll be on display at Duluth until Labor Day, through Labor Day, I should say, and we're not certain at this point. Just depends a little on the proposal whether we will be on display next spring. We've had some requests, but we have to, kind of weigh that against the proposal process, and so we'll keep an eye on that and keep folks informed as the winter goes along.
Ah. You have anything to say, Jack?
Questions? Questions? Come on.
Come on, Jack. Come on, you're the talker.
Is it open to any place in the country, or is it a bid, or is it?
It is going to be open to anywhere in the U.S. You know, obviously, we would really like to consider, you know, places that held formal visitations. You know, the 12 stops, the formal stops that the train made, but it will be open to anywhere in the country.
So we out with it this year?
We are, yeah. I'm actually on the road. I'm actually on my way to Duluth. I have not been with the car yet this summer, so this will be my my first time to see it since last fall.
Okay. And any place in Illinois expressed any interest here, in as much as this is the land of Lincoln?
You know, we're just seeing on Facebook right now, you know, people are just sort of tossing in their 2 cents, that's great. I mean, that's exactly what we hoped for, and, you know, we're glad to see that. There's been quite a bit of response, you know, hey, bring it to Springfield, you know, but we've even gotten, you know, some comments, you know, from as far away as Washington State. So it'll be really interesting to see once the proposal process is open, you know, which of the cities, any cities, end up, you know, putting something together and sending us the proposal, because we'll consider making it anywhere in the country, but our main focus has to be what's best for the car. And by that we mean, you know, where is a location that's going to give us great access as far as, you know, interstate access. It's easy for folks to get to. You know, there are other things for people to do in the area. You know, and where is this really going to be maximized as far as an educational tool for people, because that's why we built it in the first place.
Well, you've been with us since day one, haven't you?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if somebody else questions, what?
Thanks again. It was good talking to you there, Shannon. Hope
Yeah,
to see you
absolutely.
again.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, you know, stay tuned, because we're not real sure, you know, whether we will be out next spring. There is interest, but it really kind of depends on how proposals shake out this winter.
Well, but it was good for next year. I guess I'll have to polish up my boots again.
There you go. We'll you know, we'll definitely be on display, whether it's going to be a little bit of more of the temporary stuff like we have done, or whether it's going to be more, you know, working on something more permanent more quickly. One way or the other, you know, we're definitely going to keep this thing accessible to people, because again, that's why we did it. So.
Okay. How about a website for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. It's thosetrainpeople.com.
Thosetrainpeople.com.
You
Hey,
got
that's
it.
easy enough to remember. Thank you very much. Have a good
All
one.
right, guys. Take care.
Drive careful.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Even you can spell that, huh? Jack?
THAT. That was pretty easy, yeah.
Thanks, John.
I like when, you know, people don't tell the www, just get to the main heart of the matter, right?
Just remember, John, it's THOSE, not DOSE.
Those, you know,
Those.
them
That's
things.
the Chicago way of saying
No.
it. Those people.
Not my Chicago.
Now, something that's dear to my heart. Operation Lifesaver has come to light because of this. They have this new game going on called Pokemon Go.
Oh, no.
Oh, Lord.
Pokemon Go, I mean, it's a phenomenon all across the country. I guess it's around the world now.
Is this a Pokemon stop?
See, we got to find that out.
We get
But the thing is, they've been putting Pokemon in some dangerous places. And because of more problems that are happening with inattention, because people not paying attention. I mean, some people walk off cliffs. A girl walks in front of a truck, not paying attention while she's going because she's playing the game. And we've had a few instances around railroad tracks. People taking their shortcuts and stuff, but apparently some of the targets are near the tracks. And we gotta get smart on certain things. We always tell everybody, don't play around the tracks.
Right.
Anytime is train time. You see tracks, I don't care if you see rust on them, and the city wants to tear them up, a train could come by.
We used to wonder why those guys would kick us off the tracks over the Pennsylvania line over there around 65th and Bell. And
Well, they knew who you were, so they were after you.
It's only a neat place to play.
That was civic improvement, Jack.
Those weeds and. Anywho.
But it's like the listeners, just take a few minutes. Think about where you're going to in proximity. That train's wider than you think it is.
Yeah.
So stay 10 feet away from the track.
Between that and people texting or on their phone or whatever.
Yeah.
Or listening to their playlist with earbuds in both ears.
Well, no, if you stand trackside, you'll notice the train, even with the big heavy freights, the locomotives are quieter. More into the populous areas, there's more quiet zones, no horns. But you'll find out a lot of engineers ignore it when they see people and things close to the tracks.
You want to say something, John?
No.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm not surprised that they're putting Pokemon stops where they don't belong. They had to be told to remove all the Pokemon stops from Arlington National Cemetery and the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C.
Who's in charge of this? Pokey?
My standard public answer would be a brain-dead yuppie.
Maybe Gumby.
No, Gumby has common sense.
Yeah.
The horse, on the other hand, Pokey might.
They didn't have trouble like this with the hokey pokey, right?
No.
That's what I thought it was when I first heard it.
John, don't go there. It's a 30-minute
Yeah,
explanation.
I know. It's ancient history here, right? Prehistory.
Hey, yeah, I've got a couple things here. I got some upcoming excursions. The Friends of the 261, in cooperation with Twin Cities and Western Railroad and its subsidiary Minnesota Prairie Line, will operate steam excursion trains featuring Milwaukee Road steam locomotive 261. These trips will originate out of Chehanesson and Minneapolis Junction. These will be the first 261 excursions to operate on the Twin Cities and Western since 2008. There is if you're between the ages of 15 and 30, there's a first-time rider discount. Let's see, also available for coach passengers is the option to purchase a boxed lunch in advance for a nominal fee, and your family may purchase a lunch in advance when en route on your excursion. Bring your voucher to the concession car to pick up your boxed lunches. October 7th, enjoy a 4-course gourmet meal comprised of hors d'oeuvres, salad, dinner, and dessert that will be provided to those guests who choose first class or premium class. There's a dinner along with that, October 8th, 9th. There are trains scheduled as well. The train will be operated without diesel assistance westbound. A diesel at the rear of the train will pull the train backward to our origin point since there are no turning facilities on this route. The trip will also include photo run-bys so passengers can capture photos and videos of 261 in action. The Illinois Central Railroad Historical Association is sponsoring a trip on Saturday, September 24th. I believe they're putting some Pullman Rail Journey cars on the back end of an Amtrak train to St. Louis, departing Chicago at 9:25 a.m., arriving St. Louis at 3, leaving St. Louis at 5:30, arriving in Chicago at 10:10 p.m., and the tickets are $180. Those are
That includes dinner. That includes meals.
yeah,
Well, no.
yeah, correct.
Well, I'm checking the look on their faces.
It's not a box lunch, trust me. Everyday trains on Amtrak's Hiawatha route race through Niles and Morton Grove as they make their way between Chicago and Milwaukee, and there's a company that looks to bring vintage rail travel experience to the Chicago and Milwaukee corridor. On July 16th, a silver green car with a dome in the middle was attached to Amtrak's standard silver passenger cars and front locomotive. Dubbed Stampede Pass by its owner, Chicago-based company Pax Rail, the rail car featured an elegant lounge, a kitchen, 3 bedrooms with their own bathrooms and showers, and a dining space beneath the dome that gave passengers an almost 360-degree view of the surrounding landscape. And they want to do this more frequently, and it may be coming up in the future.
Okay.
There's a big, long article about that. A couple things, let's see. New Illinois law raises fines for ignoring railroad signals. Disregarding railroad crossing lights will come with a heftier fine under a new Illinois law. The legislation signed into law last week by Governor Bruce Rauner will double the fines currently on the books. The first offense will cost $500, and each offense after that will be punishable by $1,000 fine. The Crystal Lake Herald reports that 24 people died and 79 others were injured in Illinois last year because motorists ignored railroad crossings. The data comes from the Federal Railroad Administration. Illinois firm accuses the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority of breach of contract, alleging the agency has not paid $232,258 for maintenance related to 7 locomotives the T leased from the company to use on its commuter rail service. Now, I think they released these because of the problems they had during the winter. They had a lot of locomotive failures in Boston during the snowstorms. The MBTA leased 7 locomotives from Illinois-based Rail World Locomotive Leasing. I believe that's Ed Burkhart company. In February of 2015, the company says it completed about $421,000 worth of maintenance work on the locomotives, according to the lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court. Rail World later offered to reduce the bill to $400,000, but the T paid only $189,000 to the company, according to the lawsuit. Lots of problems in Boston with the transit there.
They can't get rid of Replovin and just repo the engines?
I think the engines went back already. I think what they're trying to do is get the maintenance fees paid for. Representative Lipinski, DeFazio, and Forbes joined by more than 50 lawmakers urging an investigation into a Chinese rail car deal that threatens American jobs and security. This is a pending joint venture with the North Carolina-based rail manufacturing company Vertex Railcar Corporation and 2 Chinese corporations, China Railway Rolling Stock Corporation and Majestic Legends Holdings. CRRC is a state-sponsored entity with access to vast amounts of subsidized funding from the Chinese government, allowing them to unfairly and significantly underbid private contractors in the United States.
State-sponsored, huh?
Majestic Legend Holdings is associated with Legend Holdings, the parent company of Lenovo Computers, and also has close ties to the Chinese government.
Don't you think so? Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know.
We kind of knew that already, didn't
We can't do that.
Are you done yet?
I can stop.
Oh, well, no, you don't have to. I was going to ask Jerry, hope we're not ignoring you here. Are you enjoying yourself?
I'm enjoying myself very much.
Can you tell us a little bit about, you said you were a company that represented other...
Well,
what was that?
I can tell you my background. I'm a Chicago Northwestern guy. I started there as a tax lawyer, believe it or not. And in 1975, I was treasurer of the railroad. When I finally retired, I was senior vice president of administration. What I know about are railroad mergers, how they happen, why they happen. The individuals and the personalities of the people of the other railroads, and pretty much the mental thought capacity that goes into capacity, probably the wrong word, the mental anguish that goes into how people make decisions on railroading. So I know a lot about railroading, but I did want to mention something about the CP and their fight with the Illinois toll roads, because I've been watching that with interest. What you have here is a conflict between 2 of the oldest bureaucracies in the world, railroads and government. And they both think like they're the government. And the Illinois Toll Road believes they can get anything they want by eminent domain. And the railroad industry believes that nobody can do anything to them. So you have this confrontation, which is really interesting, because the toll road's mindset is that we can value property over the fence. And the railroad mindset is, if you take away hurt our yard, you've hurt us on a system-wide basis. And that is a much larger economic problem. And so this thing will go on a long time unless rational people get together and talk it out. So I just had that passing thing.
That's fine.
There are no rational people in government.
Oxymoron.
They think in terms of process.
What have more mergers, railroads or banks? Seems like banks have enough.
Well, that's a very good question. I think it's kind of a dead heat.
Yeah.
When I used to be an alternate to the American Association of Railroad Board of Directors, and we had 16 Class 1 railroads on that board. Now in the United States, there's probably 7 Class 1 railroads. At the same time, I mentioned that I was treasurer of the railroad in 1975, which is kind of like when the dinosaurs died, but we had a line of credit with 20 banks in it. Of those 20 banks that were in our line of credit, there's only like 4 still left. And the reason is very simple. Less competition is better. And if you can have mergers where you don't have to compete with so many people, it's to be desired.
So less competition is better, but for whom?
Well, for the commercial interests that are in there. They're certainly not better for the consumers.
It's the golden rule, Jack.
What's that?
He who has the gold makes the rules.
Right.
Do unto others before they do unto you?
I think that was the old sergeant on Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
I understand the point you were making about losing yard space.
Yeah.
It's like trying to put 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag.
Well, it's a real challenge, because if you get into an eminent domain suit, you get into what constitutes fair value. Now, is fair value the amount you pay for those land, or would it be for the economic detriment your entire system? If the Canadian Pacific can show that the traffic in Winnipeg, for example, would be harmed by the lack or the harming of this yard, can they call that a detriment they should be paid for? I think they will probably say that's what they should be paid for, and this means we're going to be there a long time.
It sounds a whole lot like reparations after the Army does reforger in Germany on a yearly basis. If a tank runs over a chicken, you got to reimburse the farmer for the chicken and all the chicks that it would have had, and all the chicks that it would have had, and all the eggs that all those chickens would have produced.
Well, that sounds fair to me, but
I smell Ponzi scheme here.
Which came
as
first?
Johnny Cochran said, though, in the United States, a person is presumed innocent until they're determined to be broke. And railroads have a lot of money, so they'll be in there a long time. And I don't think the toll road is used to that.
And I think I can say without fear of reasonable contradiction, you weren't the only lawyer on the payroll.
I was the best.
No argument, sir, but I'm saying you weren't the only one.
Of course not.
So,
I got some more stuff.
okay.
Shout out for the new book on the Chicago and Western Indiana Railroad by Cynthia Ogorek and Bill Maloney. The Chicago and Western Indiana Railroad was a short line running 16 miles from downtown Chicago to Dalton, Illinois, the first suburb south of Chicago, with another line running southeast from 81st Street to the Indiana state line. Built in the 1880s, it was owned by 5 trunk line railroads that used it as an efficient and inexpensive route into downtown Chicago. Like many 19th century railroads, the C&WI reached its traffic peak in the middle of the 20th century. After World War II, passenger travel and shipping moved to airlines and over-the-road trucking. The need for rail access into downtown Chicago declined, and the CNNWI ended its service in 1994. Now, this book is available through Arcadia Publishing. You can go online. I was hoping to get Cynthia to do a call-in today. Obviously, that didn't happen.
But we can do it next time, Ron.
Yeah, I'm going to get a hold of her and
John, you got her
remind
number?
her.
Yeah, Shannon's.
I don't think so. So that's coming. It's out, actually. It's now available online for order. For all you model railroaders out there, 2,000-item train collection is up for auction. Larry Anderson of LaPorte City, Iowa, his time has come for his collection of model trains over the course of 36 years. He has amassed 2,000 rail-related items, more than 1,000 train cars, hundreds of model train set add-ons, and hundreds of feet of track. And he's 78 years old, and he said that he has to get rid of it.
His mother wants him to get rid of it.
No, his wife's
Meet a girl.
at his wife's behest. The collection includes engine cars and add-ons from brands like Lionel, MTH Electric Trains, and Walthers. The collection sat stowed away in boxes on shelves for decades in Anderson's basement, and the only setup he had was a tester track.
So you never used most of that stuff?
Nope.
It's kind of like Citizen K never looked open
Yeah.
those boxes either, right?
Rosebud. Big ticket items include six replicas of the largest steam engine ever built, the Union Pacific Big Boy, manufactured in the early 1940s. Unpainted brass replicas are about half of the Big Boy collection and may fetch $1,500 to $2,000 a piece. Let's see, when is this supposed to take place? Anyways, they figure it's going to gather about $150,000 with when the whole collection is
Is
sold.
South Beach handling
Well,
this?
the brass models you're talking about from the 40s, after the 40s, the big boys, Max Ray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, the unpainted brass replicas, a mark of an early model, are about half of the Big Boy collection and may fetch, as I said, they are most likely manufactured in post-World War II Japan and brought to the U.S. by Max Gray Imports shortly thereafter. It's being handled it's an online thing handled by some sort of, doesn't say who was doing it. Anyways. Auction concluded earlier this month of his $115 gun collection. Said 600 bidders represented every state. So it's a fire sale. If you want to add to your railroad empire.
Well, I knew one of the O-scale model railroaders in Cincinnati. He was the model maker for Max Gray, and so I saw a lot of Max Gray models on his layout.
I got a cute, humorous story to maybe finish out with.
Okay.
My son was out in Homewood 2 nights ago with several of his friends, and they went to Flossmoor Station, and one of his little buddies, originally from Burbank, now he's living in Oak Lawn. It's a microbrewery out there.
Yes.
Okay. They have a beer called the Chessie.
Mm-hmm.
This Jimmy Giggles could not spit out the name Chessie. Every time he tried to pronounce it, it came out cheesy.
It's a good wheat beer.
My wife told me about the place. We still have to get out there. Maybe we'll go out there Friday night.
Oh, it's
for dinner.
excellent. Great sandwiches.
Yeah, it's a good place.
Very good place.
I like it already.
And you can sit there and watch the electrics come and go.
And in the summer, they've got ice cream.
Yeah, they got a caboose on their back patio. And that's their ice cream stand.
Pretty good stuff. Another steam locomotive just came out. The Grand Canyon Railway rolled out, I believe it was...
number 19.
Number 29?
29.
Yeah, 29. And
Yeah, they're working on 19 now.
yeah, and that's going to be out and about for the August National Park Service celebration,
Mm-hmm.
100th year. So that's what's going on there. Metra just recently said that they would not be putting out a request for proposals for new rail cars due to lack of funding, which is not good because the stuff that they're using now is starting to show its age.
I'm sorry, who said that?
Metra.
Metra.
No, is that a governmental outfit? Constitution? Or the kind of in between hybrid. Metra.
The Metropolitan Railway Transportation Authority.
Yeah. This government, they just can buy things. They don't do anything.
Yeah, they're part of the RTA.
Whoever heard of a governmental unit not worrying about budget? No, budget.
Metro's got 3 bi-level coaches sitting on the west side of the old Rock Island storage barn there at 48th and Wentworth. Some windows are missing. I don't know if they're rehabbing them or scrapping them.
No, I think
for
those are the
parts.
ones that were involved in the last Metro derailment. And I
Oh,
don't think-
the electric bi-levels.
no, not the electric.
No, these
bi-levels.
aren't.
regular
These aren't
bi-levels.
electric.
Yeah, the rock
These-
one, the last Rock Island wreck at the rocket shop at the rocket.
Oh
house
yeah,
there.
where the fast crossover.
Yeah, because those cars have been sitting there forever.
Well, there were 2 of them, and all of a sudden they added a 3rd one.
They are in the process of a rehab program for the rail cars, so maybe they're sitting there waiting their turn to get in there. But not just doing a lot of in-house stuff with the rail cars, they're doing rehabs on those, and they're doing locomotive rehabs again, which is good because they had been sending it out to Kentucky.
Yeah, and the Silvas,
Yeah,
NRE.
and coming back not high quality stuff, some pretty poor workmanship.
Yeah, there's five cars sitting down there. Two ballast hoppers and then 3 bi-level passenger cars. 4 of them are south of the lateral. What's the correct name, Brian, for the switching table that moves side to side?
Transfer table.
Transfer. 4 of them are south of the transfer table. 1 of them is north.
And what company used to own that railroad property there?
Rock Island.
It's a rock.
Was it Rock Island?
Rock Island.
Like a very fancy looking entrance, like right at 47th and Wentworth.
Yeah, the Rocket House.
Is that what that was?
It's called
Yeah.
the Rocket House. Yeah,
How about
that was
that?
their diesel shop.
I think we're just about there, guys.
Yeah, we
Yes.
Well, Great Midwest Train Show coming up September 11th and October 9th at the DuPage County Fairgrounds, Wheaton, Illinois, 9 to 3 p.m.
And the Garden Railway is open, still running fine at the Chicago Botanic Gardens,
Anything else? Anything else?
especially on Mondays and Thursdays.
Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club will host its first open house of the year on Saturday, the 17th of September, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and it will be the premiere for the newly constructed new layout.
So at one of these events, I hope we see our 11 listeners.
One little plug for a friend of the show. The Fire Museum of Greater Chicago will be having open house Saturday. What's Saturday? What's the date Saturday? 20th? Yeah, and they're at 5218 Southwestern, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Admission free, donations accepted. Okay? That's it?
Smoke them if you got them.
No, I can't do that anymore. Okay, everybody. On behalf of Dove Kenyuk, Mr.
Brian.
Ballou, Dave Darushka,
Dave Darushka.
Jerry Conlon,
Jerry Conlon.
and we hope you come back sometime if you
I'd be
can.
happy to.
Yeah,
Thank you.
are you living close by or no?
I live in Evanston.
Oh, that's
Where's-
close.
I don't know.
It's closer than Morgan Park, I'll tell you that.
You have a standing invitation, sir.
If you want to come,
Thank
come
you.
next time, please do. And my good buddy, what's your name again? Kevin Berry,
Him.
and myself, Jack Ryan. Remember, here's wishing happy rails to you.
A lot of Irish here.
So are most of the railroad workers.
As our train pulls into the station, join us again next time when we take our railroads of imagination, our continuing journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a production of the Windy City Hometown Radio Network and can be heard over this station as well as the WindyCityHometown.com, where recordings of all our shows may be heard. Once again, all aboard. This is your announcer, Brian Ballou. Thank you for listening.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7 WRHSF in Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on Monday, August the 22nd, the year 2016. Chicago Junction is produced by Jack Ryan, directed by John DeVito, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS-FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chikanda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Thursday, August the 18th, the year 2016. Until next time, please, friends, be safe and thanks for listening. And happy railroading. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois. Thanks for listening, friends, and have a good day.